I've got a new sprayer here today, an upgrade from this one. It's got several new features, including a power washer. Going to talk through that. We're also going to install an even better control kit that allows me to control each section independently and to control the pressure remotely from the tractor, either cab or open station. While we're doing that, we're going to have to learn about how these sprayers work. I think you'll find this educational and interesting. Let's get started. This is our first MistrSpray. We've had it all year this year, used it 2 or 3 times. Really not that often, but I like it a lot. I like it because of the shape of the tank. It's easy to fully empty, right? So the sprayers that have the totally flat tank are difficult to empty. I also like this one because it's got a lot of nice features. It's got an 18-foot boom, which just comes around like this and goes 18 feet wide. By the way, I'm keeping the boom. So the boom easily comes off of the sprayer. My new one did not come with a boom because I'm just going to keep the old one and move it over to it. That's part of our project today. And there's a lot of options on this sprayer, a lot that you can choose or not choose. For the simplest approach, you can use a manual control right here. This has a tube that comes out so you can run this up however far you want to be able to reach it from your tractor. Kind of a nifty feature. A very simple approach, yet it's going to make it a lot easier for you to reach around and grab it from an open station tractor. Now let's say you have a cab tractor or you're further away, you can get an electric control, and that's what I have on this one. Just got a magnet on the back side. The other end of the power is simple little jumper cable connectors, so you don't have to leave anything permanent on your tractor. It's really nice, okay? Those work very well. This one's equipped with a bit of an upgrade. It has independent section control for the 3 sections, but it's manual right here, okay? So you have to get off the tractor to control this for this style, and I think it's still a good feature to get. For example, if you want to be in a tight area, maybe around some flowers, you don't want the 18-foot boom, you can fold your booms up and you can turn off both booms, and that will allow you to use only the center section, so only 1 or 2 or 3 nozzles right there, and it allows you to get into a close space and just not have the cumbersome feeling of such a large sprayer. So there's a lot of choices like this that make it configurable to your needs. This is not a huge cost here, right? Because it's entirely manual. We'll show the fancier option in a little while. It also comes with a wand that you can use to spray by hand so that you don't have to be moving the tractor, say, around some flowers, that kind of thing. It's a higher quality wand than what you see on the cheap box store sprayers. The size of the tank, you can get a lot of different sizes. I believe up to 300 gallons, maybe even bigger. This one's an 80-gallon tank. So let's take a look at the new one and see some of the differences. The biggest difference is right here. This is a pressure washer. It's a huge pressure washer. If you compare this to the pressure washers that we see that are self-propelled or whatever, the size of this thing is, well, it's big. And I don't know the actual specs of it, although I heard something around 6 gallons a minute maybe, and 3,600 PSI. I'm not exactly sure on the ratings. You'll have to get that at MistrSpray.com. It is an expensive upgrade, but let me show you how it works. This is a separate PTO shaft, right? So this PTO shaft, when you're using this machine as a regular sprayer, you'll leave it over here in its stored position. If you want to use it as a pressure washer, you connect that PTO shaft here to your tractor. For regular spraying, you'll use regular spray pump like that. Even this is handier than some to put on. It's got a big ring here that's easy to get a hold of. The pump is lightweight because it's pretty small. It doesn't need to be very big for this size sprayer. But that's totally independent of the pressure washer. I first got excited about the pressure washer when we visited Dirt Perfect. He demonstrated his home-built pressure washer that he runs on his 655 John Deere. I get the idea, right? I mean, being able to use a pressure washer remotely without any live water source or without any electricity. It's just very handy in that sense. So that's what we've got here. It really is a separate unit from the sprayer. We'll see how it's plumbed here in a minute, but we can tell that it's totally independent, two separate pumps. You're going to use this either as a sprayer or a pressure washer. And like I say, I think it's 4 to 6 gallons per minute, so you're going to get somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes of operation on a single tank. That could be very useful if you're spraying, say, a remote fence at the edge of your property, or you know, maybe you're cleaning a piece of equipment away from home like Dirt Perfect does. Now, before I show you some other functional differences, I do want to show you some just mechanical differences. This one is quick hitch compatible, right? We still have the Cat 1 pins here on the inside. I'll put bushings on those. Will be quick hitch compatible right here. The feet are shorter. If you remember our prior episodes on the 1025R, I would actually drag the ground with the feet. I couldn't get the machine up as high. We'll also see that will allow the whole tank and everything, just the way these are mounted, will allow the tank and everything to lift a little bit higher. So the boom should be a little bit higher, and that should, you know, make it a little easier to avoid obstacles. So overall, the design is just kind of keeps evolving and improving. Okay, let's look at this simpler sprayer here without the pressure washer to kind of get some idea of how a sprayer actually works. We have the tank here. We have a simple on-off valve, so that we could turn that off here and we could work on any of this if we have a leak, anything like that. The very first thing we're going to see is a filter. That's very nice. It's a simple strainer. We can take that off and get gunk out of it. You know, there's oftentimes gunk, or maybe it's even chemical that we've dealt with in the past that can get into the system, and it's nice to have a strainer or a filter to remove that first. Now, the next thing we notice is that this hose right here is different than the rest of the hose on the system. Well, that's because it's on the suction side. So before we get to the pump is sucking through this hose. Well, this has to be reinforced so that that hose does not collapse on suction. So the white hose here with the reinforcement built in is used all the way to the pump, okay? And then we'll use different hose, cheaper hose, on the output side. So input hose goes here. The pump is turning. It uses suction on this side, and it's pressurized on this side, the output. So where does it go from here? It goes right down here. This is the electric switch. So if you go with a purely manual switch system, you would not have this. This is a single electric switch right here, an electric valve, I guess you would say. And if that valve is turned on, the flow can go right to the splitter manifold that I showed you a second ago. Downstream from all of that, this right here goes to the wand, okay? And this goes up to the pressure control. So we control the pressure of the sprayer at a manually turned valve right here, and you can increase the pressure by restricting the flow. So you just kind of close that slowly until you get the desired pressure. The gauge is right in front of it, okay? The manual valve for turning on and off the sprayer, or the agitation, is right here. And so I find it interesting that the pressure control is essentially the last stop, right? So the pressure gets maintained through the entire system that way. So the pressure is controlled at the last stop in the loop here before it goes back in to the tank. That's really all there is to it, right? So we suck the material out of the tank, the water out of the tank with the pump, and then we pump it through the rest of the system. The first stop is the boom, and the second stop is the hand nozzle, and then the pressure is controlled at the end. We're going to be installing a better control system yet. So what we see here is 3 electronically switched valves. Okay, so we'll use one of these for each section, the left, center, and right portions of the boom. And just after that, we see the pressure regulator. So the pressure regulator is there, and that allows us to have all these controls at the cab. Okay, I'll open it up, see what's actually in there. Ah, yeah. So just like the front picture showed, I don't know if I can get this out. So here's all the stuff that came with the kit. It looks pretty straightforward from a connection standpoint. Here's all 3 of the weather pack connectors for that, the 2 connectors for the pressure regulator. That will connect in here. How long of a cable did we get here? Looks like 6 feet or so. Okay. And then there'll be that much at least on the other end. So that should be sufficient for what I'm doing. It may be a little cluttered and hard to see. This is what we need to put on, or at least I thought that's what we needed to put on. When I look closely at this sprayer, it already has the exact same 3 valves to be able to electrically control each of the booms. I did talk to MistrSpray about this, and that is another option that you can get, is one that's slightly in between here. Notice this one has the 3 valve controls and it has this pressure regulator. Our existing one does not have the pressure regulator on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to keep my 2502B solenoid valve. I've got 3 of those in series. I'm going to keep those, and I'm going to take this regulator off of my new one, and I'm going to figure out how to put it at the end of the line, just like we talked about on the other one. Now I've got a little bit of a challenge here, right? Because I don't want it right in there, right after this, because I've got the wand. The wand comes out back here. You can't see it from this angle, I get it. But the wand comes out back here, and then this is the return. So I need the wand. I'll need this T right here. Let's see if I can get it where you can see it. There's not a good angle. Sorry about that, but this is the electric valve. This is the T where the wand comes out. The wand's coming out back here. And then this is the return to tank. So I really want to put logically, I want to put it right in there. But I don't think it's really going to fit in there very well. Well, I'm going to try to take the return hose here off. There it goes. We don't have much hose there, so I may have to get enough hose to replace that one. I'm going to try to take that elbow off right there. Okay. Here's a good view of the regulator. Let's see how it opens and closes depending on the desired pressure. Okay, so the existing hose up here, I was thinking I would need more, but now I've decided maybe I can mount this regulator right here. That'll protect it really nicely. The electrical connectors will be protected. Then I'll need to connect a hose here, and either goes over or under into here. And I think that'll be what I need. So one little piece of hose and a couple of these hose connector nipples, whatever they're called. That should be good. Got the necessary parts, or at least I think they're the necessary parts now. A couple of adapters here, from pipe thread to the hose barb, 3/4 inch pipe down to 1/2 inch hose barb. We've got a couple of straight ones and one elbow. Not sure which ones I'm going to use. Got the hose itself. This was the most expensive part. I paid $20 for this little bit of hose. I don't know how much I've got. It'll be enough, but I don't know if it's 10 feet, but still, it seemed kind of expensive. It may be going right. Our closest store is the Tractor Supply. Yeah, I don't really enjoy going to Tractor Supply. We have Rural King stores, but they're 30 miles one way and 30 miles the other way. It's just a little bit too far for us. Well, there is one more piece that I needed. It's actually was included in the kit. I just didn't understand what it was for at the time. So I'll be plugging that in. This is for a little 1/8 inch line, pressure line that's going to run all the way to the tractor. And that's going to drive that pressure gauge. I guess I thought the pressure gauge was electric somehow, but it is not. It's mechanical. There's going to be an 1/8 inch line running all the way from here to the tractor to be able to read that pressure accurately. So all they had was white nylon parts. I don't know if it makes any difference whether they're white or black. I'll probably get some commenters that'll say, oh my goodness, the world's gonna come to an end, you used white nylon parts. Well, that's the way it is. I need that to be pointed around this way. That's going to be okay for that. And then I need this in here. This will be a test as to whether I really need the Teflon tape or pipe seal, and I'm going to put this in without it. Put a straight one in here. Now I think due to the conflict here, I'm going to put the elbow back in this location. As it turns out, I could have left it in, but it was nice to have it when I was shopping anyway to know the exact right size. I think something like that right there should work fine. We'll point that hose right out here and go up there. I'm going to put this hose on first. Hopefully you can see around my shoulder there. So I intend it to ride something like that. I'm just going to use a zip tie to tie it up there. So this hose needs to go from here around to there. Slide a pipe clamp on there and then insert it. Okay, now I need to roughly see the length hose that I need here. We talked about hydraulic hose in a recent episode. This is totally different hose. It's not nearly as strong and tough as hydraulic hose. It's just got a little nylon in there. I think this is rated at 150 psi. The hose that came on the sprayer is rated at 300 psi. Well, I took what I could get at Tractor Supply. I think that'll hold it. Okay, now we need to route this wire, assuming I can get it all apart here. And again, it's got the 3 connectors for the electric valves, 2 connectors for the regulator, and then it's got the, they said 1/8 inch, but that must be 1/16 inch. That's a tiny hole. I think I want that wire on the inside there so it'll be protected. I don't want to tighten it yet because I don't know what length I need. I want all the extra on the tractor side, so we'll have just enough back here to make the connections. I think I'll start with the hard one here. Okay, so it looks like that's going to tighten down on that. Okay, so far the instruction manual, small as it is, has been pretty good. It's really helped me to understand the order to connect things. I'm pretty sure I've got the pressure measurement here in the right place. Pretty sure I've got things in the right order. But I don't see anything in the instructions telling me which of the yellow or green wires to hook to the positive or negative on this regulator. And I also don't see any instruction on which of the 3 weather pack connectors. One of these is left, center, and right per the switches on the control panel, and I don't know which one is which. The latter here, this will be easy to test and easy to switch them. I think I'll be able to figure out the same thing on the regulator. I suppose if I lower the pressure and it actually goes up, I'll figure that out as well. But I'm going to have to do both of those by trial and error because I just don't see any indication of how to connect it up here in the manual. It's not going to be a huge deal. I'm going to have to strip this back just a little bit further because unlike the regular installation, I've got the regulator much further from the on-off valves than what they would typically do. And that's because I had this space limitation given how my sprayer was plumbed. And I just don't think that's going to be an issue. It just makes it so I have to strip back a little bit more of these wires on the... There we go. These are weather pack connectors. They're good connectors. Okay, so I think I'm all connected together. I think I may strip that back just a little bit further so that everything's not stretched. And then we'll zip tie this together a little bit so that it looks a little more presentable in one sense, but I just want it to be reliable. I don't want this stuff all stretched out, hanging here, where just one accidental touch is going to break it. Zip ties do wonders as far as cleaning up an installation like this. They make it look like you know what you're doing. Now I think you'll have plenty of cable no matter what type of sprayer you're working with. You should be able to reach where you need to. We're going to have more than enough here. Yeah, that's a lot of cable. So for my sprayer, that's all there is to the install. Yours might be a little more difficult because your sprayer may have been plumbed, only have one section for the whole boom, all three of them. Even then, it's really not that big of a deal, right? You just need to separate those, and you run separate half-inch hoses, just like the half-inch hose that I bought. You might even be able to use 3/8 hose, actually. I think mine uses 3/8 to the actual booms. You run each of those separately from the switches you're working from. Hopefully this video has helped you to understand the basics of how a sprayer works and how it needs to be plumbed. The instruction manual for the TIR control system is going to be helpful as well. Now, we're not done with this episode yet. We need to do some testing and make sure that's wired properly. So we'll attach the tractor and we'll put some water in the sprayer and see how it works. I've got to show you the simplicity of removing this boom and moving it to the other sprayer. Now remember, this is one of the flexible items, as you can choose any kind of different boom configuration you want. I think there's boomless, there's, you know, the real narrow ones, and then I think they have them up to 30 feet. Depending on which pump, depending on which size tank you get different sizes. But notice I unplugged those three, just turn them a quarter turn. I can just loosen this. Now I did take a wrench and loosen the jam nut before I started here, but this, you might call it a set screw or whatever, but it's basically a long bolt that goes right up in there. And then I can just pick this up out of those boom holders there. Here we go, over to the other sprayer. I just set it down on those boom mounts. Right there. Move it in here. And tighten that up. Now I suppose if you had different needs for spraying, you could actually buy different booms. Maybe you want a boomless for some scenarios. Maybe you want a wider boom or narrow boom. I don't know. Anything's possible, right? The boom itself is not that crazy expensive. Now I'll hook these back up to the new sprayer. Right, then the center, then left here. And we will be done. Let's see how the quick hitch fits. Before I do that, let's put the pump on. Now, when you hook up a PTO pump like this, you must attach this chain so that the pump can't spin. There's nothing else to hold it. I hear my able assistant coming in, but a little bit late.
But I brought you a present.
RV antifreeze, yeah. We'll need that probably, unless, I'm gonna keep mine inside, but that brings up another point. Okay, this sprayer, as it sits now, is for sale. You will have to get your own boom from MistrSpray.com. Actually, I think that's better for you because you'll be able to get the exact boom configuration that you want. It comes with the electronic switch on and off. Again, single electronic control on off. Manual control of the 3 independent sections, right? So if you want to spray with only the middle, you turn those off and then you can still use the electric switch here. I was told by MistrSpray that this configuration without a boom, right here, is $2,850. It's $2,000 if you buy this one and you pick it up here. So we'll give it, say, 7 days from this video for somebody to buy it. If not, I have to ship it back to MistrSpray. Yeah, at that point it'll probably cost more because we have shipping back and then shipping to the end customer. So $2,000 for this unit as it sits. Then you'll buy your boom from MistrSpray.com. That quick hitch fitment is great. Kind of chilly outside to be doing spray work, but here we are. Okay, I can control everything from the control panel. Here's the left, the center, and the right, all 3 of them on now. I don't know if you can see that in the video. It's often very difficult to see the actual nozzles come on. But they're all spraying. Left, center, and right, independent control. I did have one of them wired up backwards, but that was easy to resolve. I just plugged in the connector into the right socket. This is what I have from the control panel side. It reads the pressure. Right now it's 20 psi. If I turn those on, you'll see it go down a little bit. So all the booms are on now. I can increase the pressure by holding up this pressure switch here, see? I can lower the pressure. Now, it's a circling butterfly valve inside. I should have shown you that before I put it on. But if I hold up the pressure long enough, it will actually spin in a circle and take it back the other way, right? Now, I used my cigarette lighter and just did some wiring here so I could use the cigarette lighter. That seemed to make the most sense to me. When I actually run next spring, I will temporarily take this off and use this bracket, right, so that I can mount it right there. I don't really need that for this fall. So I like this system because I have the 3 separate controls, electric controls of the booms. I also have the ability to change the pressure remotely. I have the gauge right up there where I can see it. I don't have to turn around backwards to see when I'm out of chemical. As you know, I have a cab tractor, so that's gonna, if I use that tractor, that's gonna make that even more important because it's hard to reach what you're wanting to reach that way. The folks at Texas Industrial Remcor, TIR, provided this kit for our evaluation. We're going to be showing it next spring, obviously, and seeing how it works in the real world. We just needed to get it installed, and I thought now was a great time, and here it is in the middle of winter. The kit is the CON 2480 WP3C. We'll put a link in the description. It's at sprayervalves.com. There's also a dealer locator there if you want to find a local dealer to do this particular kit. I found it easy to install. I found the instructions pretty good once I understood, and hopefully through this video you can understand how a sprayer works, how the pump feeds the different valves, etc. Once I understood that, the installation was nearly trivial. I had to buy about $20 worth, $30 worth of extra parts. Most of that was that hose. Get your MistrSpray at MistrSpray.com. He can equip this already, so you don't have to do the install. You can get the TIR system. He also offers an intermediate system which allows the 3 separate switches, but doesn't have the remote pressure control, right? And the pressure gauge stays on the tank. Several cost options, several price options, depending on your needs and your budget. I really like this MistrSpray. It's very practical, but yet it's still a high-end sprayer, right? So it's got high-end features, but very configurable. That's why it's not available configurable on site. You do need to email or call to be able to get your sprayer configured. The folks there will answer your questions. Alvin there is the owner. Incredible. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you got questions about MistrSpray or the TIR remote control system, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it's the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that.